Hi guys, girls and people with alternative pronouns, and welcome to Ray's Painting Place. And in this episode we're going to be putting some more detail on this guy. Right, the first thing to do is to go over the high points of the uniform with German camouflage extra dark green again. Now we only want to get the high points. We don't want to go over the low points where the dark wash should have collected to give us nice shadows, which you might be able to see at the back of the leg there. As this colour goes on, it dries lighter than it goes on, but it is quite difficult to see on video, but I'll try and show you when it's finished. So it is a matter of going over the high points. Don't get any paint in the shadowy washed areas. If you do, basically you'll have to let it dry, wash that little area and then start again with that. But hopefully not a great disaster, but if you can avoid that, you'll save yourself a lot of time. Just take it easy, be methodical. So that's the trousers, the tunic, the sleeves, anywhere where we've got the dark green from earlier, we're basically going back over the top with just the highlights. Okay, so I'll crack on with that and then I'll show you the next stage. Okay, so we've done all that and that's gone on quite nicely. The next colour to go on is reflective, or sometimes listed as refractive green, but I'll put all the colour codes in the video description, so don't worry. And again, what we're doing with this one is we're going back over those high points again, but this time we are trying not to cover up all of the green that we've just put on. So we're making the highlight slightly smaller than the previous colour. So I'm going to be getting on with that, and then I will try and show you the result when I'm done. See you in a bit. The last colour that we're going to put on the green of the uniform is Russian uniform green. This acts as the final highlight. You might be able to see it going on here. Same as before, go over the previous areas, go over the areas of reflective green, letting areas of reflective green show through the Russian uniform. You can use the Russian uniform to edge highlight the pockets, the sharpest folds on the sleeves, for instance. It's good for that, but otherwise keep the brush strokes flowing to indicate the draping of the cloth of the uniform, and just work your way around it. And I'll do that and I'll show what it looks like when it's finished. Right, the next thing to do is go back over the green-grey areas. That's all the webbing, the pouches, straps and stuff, with green-grey again, a bit like we did with the uniform. This time you want to, rather than just aiming for the highlights, you can go a little bit wild, but you still want to leave shadows in the recesses, so where it's been washed, so don't go too wild. So for instance, on this backpack, there's a nice seam where between the, say, the rearward side on the left hand side, as we look at it here, there's a nice little seam, and there's a down the edge there where there's a collection of the wash, and that looks nice and dark, and it's given us a nice little seam line. So if we can just keep away from that, we want to go close enough to these strap details just to leave a shadow edge around them so that they stand out. So we want to go up, almost up to them, but we've got to leave the shadow that the wash has created for us. So this is quite a tricky stage, so take your time, be methodical, and I'll crack on with this and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, so that's the green-grey done. Like I said, a bit fiddly, need to take your time, but stick with it. Starting to look quite effective now. If you wanted to, you could probably leave it there because it does look quite nice like that, but I like to take it just a stage further with some German camouflage beige, and I use that to edge highlight the green-grey. So the edges of the straps, the edges of the backpack, the entrenching tool pouch, that sort of thing, just to make it pop. And that's what I'm going to do now, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. What I'm going to do next is a couple of things. I'm going to do the anklets and the water bottle with English uniform, just using that to again pick out the high points on the on those two things. Oh, also the helmet strap, but that's a bit flat, but it just needs a touch of English uniform. I'll be going over the helmet again in yellow olive, just to lift that, and then there'll be a touch of black grey on all of the black grey areas, really, the boots, the gun, the blanket in the backpack. Again, just hitting the highlights there. I'm going to do those 3 stages. They don't take very long, and then I'll get back to you. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is to pick out some of the detail on the gun, in this case the Bren. Now I'll be using a metallic black for this, and it's just to lightly touch some of the details to make them stand out just a little bit. Don't want too much on it, because if you make it look sort of super shiny, it'll look rather unrealistic. So it's to give it that kind of oily metal kind of look, and just a little touch of this black works quite well. If you put too much on, you might find that you can rescue it by using some dark tone wash over the top, which brings it back down again. So and I sometimes do that anyway, to just to drop it down a little bit. So I'm going to be doing that. That won't take very long, and the other thing I'll do at the same time, because it is very quick, is just to run a bead of this German uniform green around the very edge of the steel helmet, just to edge highlight the helmet. It's just a nice touch. Brings it up a little bit. Nowhere but the edge. So I'll do those two things and then I'll show you what that looks like. To finish the gun off, I'll be putting wood grain on the wood parts, unsurprisingly. I will be using the Vallejo wood grain colour, but it's a bit strong, so I find that you need to use some thinner. Using water doesn't really give the same effect. It tends to separate a bit, but using thinner really helps. You need about twice as much thinner as you do wood grain. Now there isn't much here. It shows right at the back here, and it goes on because of the thinner, because of the wood grain itself. It goes on reasonably transparent, which lets that flesh-based colour, if you remember, show through, and that gives a lovely effect. And you'll find that the wood grain dries quite quickly, and you can tease it with a brush and give it the effect of a grain by dragging the brush down, in this case. If you think you put too much thinner in it and it's not going on as you want, just wait a couple of minutes. As it starts to dry on your palette, you'll find that it goes on a lot better. So there is only that tiny little bit of wood to do on the gun. But there is another little bit of wood, and that is the handle of the entrenching tool. So while you've got the wood grain on your palette, you can do that as well. And it's a little bit more fiddly because the greens that surround it have obviously already been done and highlighted and all that kind of thing, so you have to take your time there. But there we go, that's going on quite nicely. It's I think that the wood grain paint is worth the effort. It does give a much better effect than, if you like, a brown. If we were to paint it dark umber or a chocolate brown perhaps, or a leather brown maybe too, a little bit of red. You could do that and it's okay, but for me, I really like the look that you get with the wood grain effect. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to take a close-up of that because it's such a small area, but I'll see what I can do. Maybe you'll be able to see the effect of it. Okay, there we are. So that's the wood grain. And the last thing to do in this case is the tin cup, his mug hanging from his backpack. I'm going to paint this one white, or off-white, with a blue rim, just because I like it. Although by this time in the war, I believe they were starting to issue dark brown mugs, but they're way more boring than a nice white mug on a green guy with a blue rim. It adds a little bit of colour. People point it out, oh, look at his mug and all that. It's a great little talking point. and yeah, I just love it. So there's 3 colours here. There's the game colour off-white. You get away with the model colour off-white, although they are slightly different actually, but I happen to have the game colour off-white to hand, so I'll be using that for the mug itself. You'll probably need 2 coats on that. The rim, I'm using the game colour heavy blue. It's a nice strong blue, and it's one of their heavy ranges. I mean, the pigmentation's higher, so it goes on really easily over the light colour. And then I'll touch up the inside with a circle of black there, just to sort of give the effect of a little bit of depth. And then I think for this figure, that's pretty much it. And we'll be moving on to the base. So I'll do the mug, and then I'll show you what that looks like. For the base, we're going to start off with this stuff, which is Vallejo mud and grass. Basically, it's a mix of paste and the static grass fibres. It gives a nice effect, and it goes on quite easily. I spread it on with one of these. I think they're meant to be dental tools. I've no idea. I got them cheap once upon a time, and they're really good at spreading the muck around. So that has to go all over the base. Unfortunately, it dries green. I don't really want it green. I want it a dark brown colour. So we'll be putting on 3 colours there. There's German camouflage black brown, which goes all over the base, and then once that is dry, the amusingly titled Flat Earth is dry brushed over that, and is also used as the rim of the base, the edge. And then dry brushed over that, very lightly, is some tan earth. And then when those 3 colours are on, I'll show what it looks like, and then we'll decorate it with some tufts and a few other bits and bobs just to bring it to life a bit. So I'll put the mud and grass on, paint it up with the black brown, and then dry brush it with the flat earth and the tan earth. Right, I'll see you in a minute. So to decorate the base, we've got a few bits and bobs here. We've got some Army Painter lowland shrubs. The small ones are kind of nice, they're good. So the Army Painter Battlefields Jungle Tufts. These are 6mm, it says here on the packet. They're great too. Again, you can find some smaller ones amongst the big ones. Tend to be a little bit too big, I think, really, for these, but or at least on a small base anyway. They're nice bright green. You might just be able to see here, I've got some tiny little sprigs of lichen or lichen, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I'll see if I can squeeze a couple of them on maybe. In this tub is dried herbs, bought from the supermarket, less than £1, and it gives a nice crushed leaves, mangled debris, forest floor kind of generic scatter. So I might be using a little bit of that around the base of the tufts, and stick it all down with some PVA. This happens to be Citadel, but anything will do really. So I'm going to get all those stuck down, and then we are finished. So I'll do that, and I'll show what it looks like. So the figure's complete. You've built it, you've painted it, and you've based it. And I hope it was worth it. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Like, share, subscribe if you did enjoy yourself. If you didn't, write it in the comments. Let's have a chat. Find out what you did, what you didn't like. And we'll see what we can do. But thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.